10 Coolest Decepticons in the Transformers Franchise. In the Transformers franchise, the evil Decepticons are much cooler than the Autobots. The foundation of the Transformers universe is built on the war between the good-natured Autobots and the evil Decepticon. However, in the Transformers franchise, the villains are much cooler than the heroes. For example, the Autobots have mostly been limited to transforming into cars and simple land-based vehicles. The Decepticons feature tanks, jets, helicopters, and alien-like devices. The Decepticons might be the cooler of the two main Transformers factions, but a few Decepticons stand out above the rest. Hasbro's multi-billion-dollar IP has spawned several well-designed and interesting Transformers, but sometimes it's apparent which Transformers got the special treatment in their creation. When it comes to the Deceptions, being cool is expected. Number 10. Tarn is a devoted Decepticon assassin. With how cutthroat and brutal the Decepticons can be, it only makes sense for a couple of Transformers to try to change sides. While it's not very common, it does happen enough for it to be a problem. To ensure any traitors to the Decepticon cause are dealt with, Lord Megatron has put the loyal Tarn in charge of ensuring the turncoats stay silent. First introduced in the 2005 IDW Continuity Comics, more than meets the eye. Number 5. Tarn is the leader of the Decepticon Justice Division. Tarn takes great pleasure in hunting and killing Decepticons who attempt to switch sides. His loyalty to Megatron is obvious from how he modeled the Decepticon insignia onto his own faceplate. Number 9. Devastator is a massive destructive power. The only thing better than one Transformers is several Transformers who combine into a single, giant machine. Throughout the history of Transformers, Hasbro has released several different combinations of the Decepticons and the Autobots. Out of all the combinations, the most well-known is the Decepticons Devastator. Devastator is known for his appearance in Michael Bay's Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, and he was one of the most powerful Transformers in the Decepticon forces. Making his debut in Generation 1 comics, Devastator quickly established himself as a force to be reckoned with. Number 8. Shrapnel is the head of the dangerous Insecticons. The Autobots Dinobots became one of the most popular groups of Transformers in the entire franchise. Of course, the Decepticons needed their equivalent of the Dinobots to compete. While the Decepticons didn't get Dinobots, they got Insecticons, Transformers who turn into giant insect forms. In the first group of Insecticons, fans were introduced to Shrapnel. First introduced in 1985 as the leader of the original Insecticons, Shrapnel is a violent and cruel Decepticon who turns into a giant stag beetle. While that might seem kind of lame compared to giant dinosaurs, Shrapnel held his own thanks to his violent tendencies, love of electricity, and devotion to the Decepticon cause. Number 7. Starscream is the Decepticons' backstabbing second in command. Like in many evil factions, there's usually a person who seeks to overthrow the leader and take command, while Megatron's rule keeps all his underlings in their place. His second in command, Starscream, consistently seeks an opportunity to push Megatron aside and take over the Decepticons. Unfortunately for Megatron, his sniveling second in command is one of the most powerful Transformers of them all, introduced as one of the first deceptions in Transformers number 1 by Marvel Comics. Starscream appears frequently throughout the franchise. He's nearly present in every Transformers media alongside his leader. While Starscream is a more selfish Decepticon, he makes up for his lack of loyalty with a bloodthirsty efficiency and genuine enjoyment of killing Autobots. Number 6. Bruticus is the Decepticons' most powerful Combaticon. While the Decepticons' group of enormous combiner bots are an imposing force and a real thorn in the side of the Autobots, most of them have less than ideal intelligence levels. This hindrance often frustrates the smarter Decepticons, especially Megatron, who finds their mental lapses frustrating. However, Megatron has Bruticus, one of the most powerful Combaticons. Much like the other combiners, Bruticus is constructed from several different smaller Transformers. First introduced in the Generation 1 cartoon, Bruticus was used by Starscream in his short-lived uprising against Megatron. Following his debut, Bruticus became one of Megatron's most powerful soldiers, handling any Autobot threat thrown at him with brute force and lax effort. Number 5. Thunderwing carries his Decepticon status proud. Several things separate the Autobots from the Decepticons. While there are obvious elements, like appearances and second forms, one of the easiest ways to tell the difference is their personality. Decepticons rarely express camaraderie or friendship with each other, which is second nature for the Autobots. One of the few Decepticons to show active compassion toward his peers is Thunderwing, introduced as part of Generation 1 Marvel Comics. Thunderwing is an intelligent, fearless, and respected member of the Decepticons. Unlike most, he also shows great respect and kindness to his peers, making him one of the coolest Transformers. While this kindness might be seen as a weakness by Megatron, Thunderwing is brutally effective while mostly maintaining his nobility. Number 4. Shockwave terrifies Autobots with his presence and smarts. While Megatron is a ruthless, effective, and fearless leader, he is also often prone to emotional outbursts. Often, these moments leave him susceptible to attacks from the Autobots or even from within the Decepticon. Luckily for Megatron, 2 of his most loyal soldiers keep him in check, one of whom is the highly intelligent and dangerous Shockwave. Unlike Megatron, Shockwave is driven by logic and reason. He supports the Decepticons because he believes it's the best for his species. He was loyal to Megatron because he felt Megatron's rule would be most beneficial. His intelligence is unmatched across all Transformers, and it's easy to imagine Shockwave taking leadership of the Decepticons. For now, he remains loyal to Megatron and is a high-level threat to the Autobots. Number 3. Soundwave manages to overcome his lame transformation. When the first series of Generation 1 Transformers were created, many had very lame transformations. It's clear when the franchise first began, there wasn't as much imagination behind the second forms of many of the Transformers. One of the worst transformations belonged to Soundwave, a Decepticon who changed into a cassette recorder. While this lame transformation would be a death sentence for many, Soundwave became cool as the Transformers franchise grew. Soundwave was among the first Decepticons introduced in the franchise. Acting as the Deception's communication officer, Soundwave was unshakingly loyal to the cause, while his second form left a lot to be desired. He made up for it with his cool robotic voice, design, and ability to eject smaller Transformers from his chest. Number 2. Megatron is the feared leader of the Decepticons. Megatron is the Darth Vader of the Transformers world. The fearless and powerful leader of the Decepticons has been in charge of the faction since the franchise's creation. While Megatron is often outlasted by his cool arch-rival Optimus Prime, he continues his rule thanks to his cunning, brutality, and commanding presence. Created for the very first Transformers comic, Megatron has been an influential leader ever since his debut. While his second form has changed numerous times across the years, his status hasn't. Megatron's rise to power has inspired many of his forces while striking fear in the hearts of his enemies. It also doesn't hurt that Megatron has been blessed with some fantastic voice acting from Frank Welker and Hugo Weaving. Number 1. Predaking is one of the coolest Transformers. It didn't take long for Hasbro to consider taking the Combiners and mixing them with the Dinobots to make something new and cool. While the Decepticons have always had the capable Insecticons, there isn't a Transformer more united, brutal, and effective than the deadly Predaking. Unlike other Combiners, the fusion form of the 5 Predaking, Predaking was brilliant, with a combined form giving him a singular personality. Predaking takes great pleasure in destroying the Autobots, mainly because he is rarely challenged. It's easy to imagine Predaking being able to challenge Megatron for leadership, but he has no interest in ruling. Instead, he lives for the hunt and killing Autobots because he enjoys it. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you click down below, subscribe to the button, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment.